Yeah, we'll just jump right into this one. RE2 came out. It's great. All right, we're done.
Or RE2 remaster.
The remaster.
RE2
RE2
just
R.
released 7, and they're like, oh yeah, we forgot to 2.
So yeah, well, it's actually I don't even think it's a remaster. I think it's called the remake. Not even.
Or yeah, sorry.
Yeah, it's like a full remake.
from the ground up.
Because like as we're learning how to apply these terms to games as developers come
Yeah.
along, eventually we'll get a standard operating procedure on this. But for
I
now,
think it's pretty standard. I just misspoke.
nah, I guess it's point. That's not a big deal. Anyway, the point is it came out. It's great. There's nothing else to be said. It's perfect. 10 out of 10. It's put up in the Hall of Fame. We're done. That's my topic. Good. Let's move on.
Wait, is
Why
there
is
a
it
game
so
Hall of Fame?
All right. Well, since you asked, Mao,
But I don't know more, Meta.
I want to know more.
What is a Resident Evil?
Well, you see, it's somebody who's a resident within your area, and they happen to be evil on the spectrum of the alignment axis.
It's a really bad roommate.
It's a really bad room. So, Resident Evil, if you've been living under a rock and don't know about one of Capcom's longest standing franchises within the gaming world, Resident Evil, which actually has a different name called Biohazard in Japan. Biohazard is a game essentially about zombies and you trying to survive the zombies. This came out way before the huge zombie craze in the 2000s.
Hey man, it's not just
96?
about that. I think Wesker's come back more times than Xehanort has. I'm just saying.
We'll get into Wesker, won't we? But yeah, I'm trying to look up the original Resident Evil now, but it's been the first one came out
Like
in
96?
March
Yeah.
22nd, 96. With the
Hey,
latest one just being literally last week and the 25th, so you can guess.
And like Kingdom Hearts, there have been quite a few games that don't have numbers
Yeah,
attached.
there's a lot.
So there were quite a few games.
Thankfully, unlike Kingdom Hearts, though, they didn't drop the numbering issue until actually after the third game, which came out in 1999, and they didn't come back to the numbering until 2005 with Resident Evil 4. But Resident Evil is essentially a series about a group of individuals finding out that there's zombies in their midst in some shape or form and attempting to survive while figuring out what's going on, defeating the big bad guy, quote unquote, at the end, and somehow connecting it to the parent company called Umbrella. Who in the real world is just this awesome corporation who does cosmetics and tries to make you look more youthful and whatnot. In reality, they're working with a super secret agent virus that'll turn your flesh into zombie eating type flesh, the kind that you want to murder people for because you want to taste their yummy brains.
If I look good.
Yeah, it's a kind of campy game series. It kind of is very aware that it's trying. It's not going to be taken too seriously. But the game was marketed really well for the fact that it is a survival horror, a genre that's kind of died off for a very long time, and has only started to recently come back.
I mean, even Resident Evil kind of was like going
Yeah.
away from it until 7. Like 5 and 6
Yes.
are way different.
5 and 6 are completely.
we don't
different
talk about
beasts.
5 and 6 here.
Yeah,
Or 5 and man-flating giraffe.
I mean, even though
I love that meme.
Jeez.
Ah.
I mean, the genre in itself, though, it kind of has just gone away. Even Silent Hill was kind of like the other big contender for the survival horror type thing,
Mhm.
though a little bit more psychological than actual survival. But the point being is that like a lot of these kind of games just stopped really showing up. A lot of people like more action. But Resident Evil 7 came out, and that kind of really brought it back to the roots of what survival horror is. And then RE2 remake came out, and so here
It
we are.
sold 3 million copies so far.
Yeah, it's pretty freaking insane. I mean, because you have to kind of like pulling us back to the year 1996. The game Resident Evil has dropped down into your store. You go and buy it, knowing that you're probably going to have to play this game for a long time, but you're dedicated to it. And it was a whirlwind, a rush of excitement. Then you find out, 2 years later, Resident Evil 2 is coming out, and the hype was real for a game in 1998. People talked about it. No, this is serious. People actually talked about Resident Evil 2. You could talk to people and they're like, "Oh shit, you hear about Resident Evil 2 coming out? I can't wait." It was legit hype. and it came out. And it was really well done. They took a lot of they kind of took everything on Resident Evil and just polished it for Resident Evil 2. And it was a really good game. And Resident Evil 3 was only better than that. Which apparently, if Resident Evil 2 does really, really well, they're probably going to remake Resident Evil 3. So
I think it's safe to say that that's doing very well.
Yeah, it's doing incredibly well. So obviously we picked up the game. I'm not a big super fan of Resident Evil itself. In fact, this is the first Resident Evil game I've actually played myself. But I am very well aware of the love for people that have Resident Evil or who have played Resident Evil, and I've followed a lot of it. For just the love of what it kind of represents and what it is. But the game itself, we picked it up, and I kind of asked Lily because we were like, want to pick up Resident Evil 2 Remake. It looks amazing. I was following a lot of, the information coming out for it. I was looking at the cinematics, and I was, this is amazing. This feels like a really scary game to play that I haven't played in a long time, because the last scary game that I played that really truly felt scary was Amnesia: The Dark Descent, which was years ago. So seeing this, I was immediately hooked. So we picked it up. We have been playing it and streaming it for the past week now, and I am in love with every moment of it. I have been watching other streamers play the game as well. Never anything past what we have streamed ourselves, because I kind of want to keep that. I don't want to really spoil anything for myself here. But I've been enjoying it. It's amazingly fun to watch and play. Lily has been currently playing the game thus far, though. She decided she wanted to play Leon. I said, well, if you play Leon, you're going to have to play first. And she's like, all right, that's fine. And she's commenced to scream her head off every single time. It's been a wild ride. The game is really well done. There's all. If looking at the game just from a design standpoint, they have done a wonderful job with both lighting and graphics. The ambience is phenomenal. It really does set the mood. Sounds in little tidbits, even the noises, they just throw you off. They always keep you on edge. And the safe rooms, while they are safe, always kind of just it's kind of this small claustrophobic area that kind of just reminds you that you're going to be stepping back outside where all the zombies are and where possible problems might arise.
Certain death.
So yeah, you're always, there's really no sense of true safety in the safe room, because you have to, in order to beat the game, you're gonna have to go back out. So it's kind of everything you want in a horror game to be. You're just always on the edge of your seat. They've done a wonderful justice to a lot of the creatures thus far. I mean, if you've played the original RE2, then you're going to know about Mr. X, which is now, he's named Tyrant now. I think he was actually originally named Tyrant as well, but almost, I think every character canonically has referenced him as either, I think Leon even called him Trenchy one time. But they got him. Lickers come around, and Lickers are scary as crap. They are absolutely terrifying, and they are doing well for the justice of what they are. The zombies are wonderfully designed. They are creepy. They bumble about, but they are always on. They're never quick to pivot or spin on the dime, so to speak, but they will turn to try to grab you a little bit quicker. Some of them have different ways that they work. They kind of have little different mechanics associated with them. Little subtle things, nothing large, but some might get a burst of speed to grab you. Others might suddenly be able to twist around to snatch at you because you think you can run past them and you're fine, and then they'll be able to suddenly switch around and grab you. Some of the other ones will kind of bob and weave more than others, making it harder to hit them, and sometimes making that in and of itself a bigger threat. Small stuff, but always stuff that feels appropriate. But that gives them a little bit of flavor while still keeping what they are, terrifying creatures that will eat your face there forever. Zombie dogs are back. Obviously, they're terrifying as well. There's other creatures that are along the way that I do know are back in the game because, well, they were pivotal parts of the original game. But suffice to say, and the point being is that all the enemies are awesome. They're immensely well done. Especially Mr. X, who
His memes-tastic.
Yeah, who is absolutely memes-tastic. He decides to break one of the rules of the game, which is he can go into the main hall where no other creature can normally go. He decides to say piss on that rule, and that he's going to find you unless you are actually in a safe room.
And
Yeah.
even if he sees you go into a safe room, he'll
Yeah,
follow.
apparently he will follow you into a safe room if he sees you go into that safe room. So he's incredibly scary. He's incredibly dangerous. He will hunt you down, and he will find you, and he will deliver his Prime package to you 1-day shipping.
T-Virus is a hell of a drug.
X is gonna give it to you.
Yep.
So that in that area, it's just been an absolute blast. We've had a lot of fun. There's a lot of great stuff. I can't wait to see where more of the game goes. It's very faithful to the original design, because if you played the original game, you can kind of see like that the police station in of itself is very much almost I almost want to say a 1-to-1, but it's not really. They had to change some stuff up, but it's almost kind of this 1-to-1 look of what the station was in the original game. But some things have been modified and changed around to just better suit, I guess, the design and the architecture of it. Not to say that the game makes much sense as an architectural design, because there's obviously secret, passageways and other such places abound, which doesn't really make any sense in the real world. But it's Resident Evil, and what would a Resident Evil game be without having to unlock the door with the red club key or whatever? So there you go. You can obviously play as Claire and Leon, just like the original game. You can play both the A story for them, and then when you beat the A story, you unlock the B story for them, which is a different story style for them, which kind of takes them through a different route, sets up creatures in different areas. It gives kind of a fresh new take on the whole events of everything that are happening. And so on and so forth. So it's actually kind of interesting. I think even some of the cutscenes are changed a bit to modify. Like for one of the cutscenes in Leon's A story, you'll go up to this gate where Claire is on the other side, and you guys kind of talk to each other. But in the B story, Leon will approach from that side, and Claire will see him from the other side. The helicopter will crash into the building like normal, but they're on opposite sides of the gates and talking with each other, but the same events still happen behind them, but they say different things and whatnot.
Always
So
like
it's
that
kind of,
stuff in games.
yeah,
It's
it's
kinda neat.
it's really cool. So there's stuff like that that's like really interesting, and I'm very glad that they kind of kept in the whole A and B and whatnot. Obviously, they've got the grading system. You can go from B, A, S, or S plus rank, which the only difference between B, A, and S is that is how fast you beat the storyline on it. But S plus actually has a number of little other conditions on it. They have 3 different difficulty modes, which is kind of nice. You've got assisted mode, which is essentially weaker zombies. You have aim assistance, and there's more items abound. You also regenerate a little bit of health. Once you're kind of in a safe area and away from any immediate danger, you'll regenerate some health. You'll never go back into fine, but you'll always be in caution. On standard mode, you get your kind of standard gameplay, and then hardcore. Zombies are very nasty. They're very tough and difficult. You are not, whenever you try to craft up ammo, you are not given anywhere near the same amount that you would in the other difficulties. So on and so forth. So it's a very nice mixture, and obviously the zombies will just eat your face in like bites. You can pretty much die quickly. Obviously, being these on different difficulties give you unlock really cool stuff. You get infinite weapons and whatnot, and up to including infinite rocket launcher and infinite minigun ammo, respectively, for Leon and Claire, who have different guns. Leon gets access to Matilda, which is kind of like your just standard 9mm handgun, and then from there he gets access to a shotgun. He gets access to a Desert Eagle knockoff, and then the rocket launcher. Whereas Claire gets access to a regular handgun, submachine gun, grenade launcher, and what is essentially called like the shock spikes. I guess I don't know. It's like a charge. It's a really weird weapon. I don't really know what it is. And then there is the minigun she gets, I think, at the end of the game. So it's really good stuff. Scary as crap. I am absolutely in love with it. I think it's probably by far way better than I thought it was going to be, because I knew it was going to be good. I could just tell, but it's been way better than I really thought it would be.
I'm surprised you haven't played a Resident Evil game.
It's never been my jam. Like, believe it or not, while I enjoy the games, never been really my thing to play. It just
I
never.
love 4.
Like a lot of people say 4.
Yeah, 4. I think it was definitely the fan or the most popular one.
Yeah,
Played 1, 2, original 1, original 2, and 4.
it's
People do love Leon.
Oh, they do love Leon. Yeah, 5 and 6 were kind of weird compared to it. I'm glad they did this remake though, because this remake is really well done. It supports both, obviously, controller and mouse and keyboard if you've got it on the PC. I would say though that having played a little bit, because I've been every now and then when we get done with the stream, I think I've only done it twice now. I've kind of played around with the game because I kind of wanted to just know what I'm doing. I tested out mouse and keyboard, and while the controller is nice, and you can definitely kind of see that more classic way of playing the game, you make your life way harder just because of the controller. Because with mouse and keyboard, you're able to take out enemy creatures so much easier. It's actually disgustingly easy. How quickly the game can actually be probably beaten with all the ammo that you get through rather easily, even on the hard difficulty. Just because of the mouse and keyboard. That
It's
is how
always the go-to for shooters, man.
it is, and well, I mean, there's a reason for it, obviously.
Yeah.
It's that more precision aiming, but a lot of the shots I've noticed that like a lot of times what ends up happening to most players, they just end up missing shots, and that's the waste of ammo. And they tend to miss on maybe a 40, anywhere from between 50 to 30% of their shots, and that's a lot of ammo in a survival horror game, which is what this game really, really focuses on being is that you have to save your ammo. You have to decide: is it worth the fight this creature? Is it not worth the fight this creature? Do I have to fight this creature? Can I just kite them around in a circle, until I can get to what I want? That kind of question is really important for the game, but I with a mouse and keyboard, I feel like that's really not a question anymore. It's like, yeah, I could probably just shoot everything as I come across it. So I am loving it. I think it's probably gonna be one of my favorite games this year. I'll probably put it in my top
Yeah, it'll probably be in a lot of people's game of the year discussion for sure.
Yeah, they've also already announced DLC for it. Ghost Survivors, which is supposed to be this mode where you take on essentially the tale of 3 other people who tragically meet their untimely demise during the outbreak. With the first one being apparently the gun store guy that you meet like in the beginning of Resident Evil 2. He ends up getting like nommed on zombies after I think shortly meeting either Claire or Leon in it. I can't remember which one first. But he ends up getting nommed on, but you gotta get to play his story before that happens. You get to play as the mayor's daughter, who gets I think her untimely demise is met at the hands of Chief Iron, who's kind of in on the whole Umbrella Corporation thing that's behind Raccoon City. And you also play as the Forgotten Soldier, who is, well, lives up to his name. He's a Forgotten Soldier. Nobody really knows anything about him, so he's probably the only character that has maybe a small bitter piece in the game that I'm not fully aware of. But the mayor's daughter and the gun store guy are probably the ones that I remember the most. So they're apparently getting their own mode, and from what they described, the way it works is it's kind of a little bit RNG-ish. There are certain aspects or factors that are kind of randomized, but they want to, from what we can tell, it almost looks like to be slightly randomized, enough RNG that you kind of have to know what you're doing from the get-go, but to keep it fresh. But not so much that it wouldn't make like a speedrun fun, which is apparently something that I guess they may have mentioned. I don't know if that's just from hearsay or news articles taking on, their own wording for it, but apparently potentially making speedruns a more fun thing to do. I don't know, but it looks like really cool, fun DLC. It's going to be free, which is the biggest surprise, and it's coming out in February, in the middle of it, I think. I don't know if there's an actual date for it or not. But I'm looking forward to it. Once obviously Lily gets done with Leon, and then I can jump on to play as Claire.
Holy moly. There's already 21 speedruns on the leaderboard just for Crest's percentage.
Yep.
Jill's percent has... Holy 72.
I'm actually looking.
Oh, that's Resident Evil 1. I'm sorry.
I'm actually looking forward to this game being on like GDQ and whatnot, because this game is really fun.
I bet it'll get into SGDQ just because it came out right after HGDQ.
Yeah,
gives enough time for stuff to happen.
I'm absolutely hoping, and because it's in the perfect timing, it'll come out for SGDQ, and then we come around at the end of the year for the next GDQ. It'll be there probably because they'll found out like lots of glitches and whatnot. But they'll have a lot of time to kind of try to figure out the best way to run this thing. It's gonna be a lot of fun, I bet.
Yeah, Leon hardcore S+ speedrun in an hour and 19 minutes.
Yeah, I mean that's because a big part of the whole game is that you go through it on these hard difficulties, and that in order to get those S+ ranks, you have to perform under certain criteria, which kind of pushes you towards playing speedrunning on it. So I'm sure it'll get some love in the crowd, and then just because it's Resident Evil 2. So
Yeah, one guy is going in hard on this game. He's got a bunch of Trance's channel on YouTube.
I'm not even surprised.
So
there's a lot of people.
Yeah, Resident Evils are beloved speedruns too. They're one of the more popular series of speedruns. So
it's pretty fun. Speedrunners really find out the little nits and bits that do it.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much Resident Evil 2 remake in a nutshell. It's been I've already said it like 3 times now, but I really do like this game. It's a lot of fun. Even if I'm just letting Lily play and kind of like trying to help her along and give her all the aid I can, because she does bumble, bless her heart, but she bumbles.
That's an insult down here in the South, Meta. Bless your heart.
I know.
Them's fighting words.
That's fighting words.
Yeah. Man, there's something about survival horror games. They're just so fun. That might be like the best genre to just watch other people play.
It is. Survival horror is really, don't get me wrong. If you've played 5 or 6 Resident Evil, those kind of like action horror games, they can be fun, but they're generally fun when you play with other people and kind of just, bum around and play them. But in and of themselves, the whole point of a horror game is that you have to feel vulnerable. If you don't feel vulnerable, it's not really a horror game. You're just using horror creatures in an action game.
Yeah.
And I feel RE2 does an absolute job of making you feel vulnerable.
Fun to watch people get scared, man.
Oh, yeah.
The spoopy stuff.
Like I said, we've been streaming that hard, and Lily gets spoopily scared. Spoopily easily. So.
Get your Duke spooked.
Oh, my God. All right, you memer.
All right.